Summer is literally 1 month away, and guys have been dieting for months now. Guys have been dieting and trying to get that shredded physique since February now. And if you still aren't shredded, if you still have belly fat there and the definition just isn't coming in, your natural instinct is probably do more cardio, eat more protein, do more work, put more effort in, try harder, eat in a bigger calorie deficit. And that instinct that has been drilled into your head by social media, by all of these fitness influencers, is the exact wrong instinct. And today I'm going to break down why exactly these three specific things are actually going to keep you stuck. And that if you keep following these, you're going to end up showing up to the beach this summer looking like this guy right here. So, the first thing is a big calorie deficit as well as tracking calories. Yes, this feels logical. Yes, eating less, lose weight, it kind of like goes hand in hand. That like makes sense. And yes, it's going to work short term, but only short term. If you stick to a sustained calorie restriction, this is going to over time tank your testosterone. It's going to spike and keep your cortisol elevated. And that is the complete last thing you want when your main goal is to get jacked, put on muscle, while also shredding off any excess body fat because your body basically reads a big calorie deficit, any large calorie restriction, as a starvation signal. So it's going to hold on to fat to basically use it as like an insurance. And then your body is going to metabolically adapt to that feeling. So your body will slow its own output and then match its reduced input. So yes, it's going to end up working. This large calorie deficit is going to end up working short term. But what you're going to notice is you're losing some of this fat and you're also losing a decent amount of muscle with it. You're probably losing a bunch of energy. You're probably losing a lot of strength. All of these things go hand in hand. Your cortisol then shoots up because of that starvation signal. It's going to stay elevated. And what happens when your cortisol shoots up and stays elevated? Your testosterone drops, your testosterone gets low. And then this exact hormonal environment you're creating in your body is what stores the fat, not burns it. Now, when it comes to specifically treating all calories as identical, which is what a lot of guys end up doing when they're tracking calories specifically, and all calories are not at all equal. If you're eating 500 calories of something like this, like steak and eggs, versus 500 calories of any ultra processed food, your body is not at all going to respond in the exact same way to them. Your body doesn't track the calories. Your body responds to the hormonal signals that you're giving to it through food. And the one specific thing that I really noticed the most is that most guys, when they go to the tracking calories because they think that's what's the most optimal because they see all these bodybuilders doing it, they start relying on just trying to hit the numbers and they completely forget about the actual quality of food. And trust me, I completely do understand it. I tracked calories for multiple years. I was tracking my food down to the gram. I was eating this pretty, what I thought was a clean diet, and I was tracking everything down to the gram. I was hitting the numbers, hitting the protein. Everything looked perfect to like what you would think is to a bodybuilder or to any of these gym bros. It looked perfect. But my body barely made any type of visible changes. I was not able to actually shred off that fat, like for real. And I stopped tracking the calories. I started eating for actual hormone output and to optimize my hormonal health and increase my testosterone. And I mean, my body composition, my physique, it changed faster than I had ever experienced before. So, the main overall idea that I'm trying to get at here is that your body doesn't at all count calories, it responds to a hormonal signal. So if you're tracking the wrong thing, you're going to get the wrong results. The quality of your food is what actually matters, not all these numbers that you're focused on in the calorie tracking app. Your body is not hooked up to the numbers in this app. Now, the next thing is extra cardio tied to specifically running. When most guys experience hitting a ceiling, hitting a plateau in their fat loss journey, or just experience fat loss slowing down, what most guys resort to is adding extra cardio, specifically running. And the reason a lot of people think this is so good is because running feels productive. You're sweating, yes, you're burning calories, and yes, you are working hard in achieving something. So that feeling of achievement does feel good, but chronic cardio is going to keep your cortisol elevated for hours and hours after the session. You can see your natural cortisol hormonal rhythm. It naturally spikes in the first 60 to 90 minutes in the day, and then it's supposed to slow down. And then once it gets towards night again, it's going to start going up to then repeat that cycle. But when you are doing chronic cardio, such as long term or long distance running, or just any long term form of cardio like this, it's going to keep your cortisol elevated. It's no longer going to drop like this throughout the day. And that is going to be literally a direct signal for your body to hold on to more fat. And the main thing that a lot of guys end up getting confused is that this isn't at all like lifting heavy in the gym. Lifting heavy in the gym, doing sprints, short bursts of high intensity training are going to spike your cortisol, yes, but then it's going to drop it. Running is going to keep it high and then keep it elevated for hours and hours, even after the session is done. It's going to keep your body in a catabolic state. And what happens to your body in a catabolic state? Your body is basically telling itself it's breaking down. So then you're losing muscle, which is going to decrease your testosterone, slow your metabolism, and lead to more fat storage. You do not need to be doing any of this chronically high cortisol cardio, such as running. So resorting to adding more cardio is not going to actually get you where you think it is. And on top of that, if you're a guy who's already in a stressed lifestyle or experiencing higher cortisol from the stress of life in general, and then maybe sleeping poorly, and then you're in this deficit and then you're doing this chronic cardio on top, piling more cortisol on top of whatever you're already dealing with is just going to add to a broken system. It's going to add to holding on to that fat and just really make things worse overall. So the important thing to understand here is cardio is not at all bad. You do want to do cardio. Moving around outside is one of the best things you can possibly do. It's just what type of cardio, what form of exercise are you going to actually do? So low intensity cardio like walking is going to actually lower your cortisol rather than spike it. So something as simple as walking is going to be one of the best possible forms of cardio that you can be doing when fat loss is your goal. So walking outside, getting out in the sun, getting out in the sunlight, that is going to stack on top of lowering your cortisol. That is just one of the most optimal things you can do when fat loss and muscle gain are your main priorities. And I completely went down that cycle at one point as well. I was doing all of these runs in the morning because I thought that this was what all of these jack guys did. I saw these guys on the internet and they were going on all these like 5 a.m. runs, whatnot. So I was like, well, if they're doing it, I got to do it as well. That's what's going to get me jacked. That's what's going to get me shredded. My body, my physique didn't change at all. I didn't end up shredding any of that fat. So I swapped it for a heavy compound lifting. I swapped it for sprints. I swapped it for just doing simple walking outside in the sun. And I actually built the muscle. I actually lost the fat all at the exact same time. So running is not going to be what produces that high testosterone and that easy fat loss. So what I want you to understand here is running is not going to be what results in that fat loss. It is going to only keep your body in a high cortisol state, high elevated cortisol, which is going to signal to your body to hold on to that fat. And when you're pairing that with a large calorie deficit or the stresses of life, it's only going to make everything so much worse. So stick to your low intensity movements outside, like something as simple as walking, or something like a heavy compound lift in the gym or sprints that's going to, yes, spike your cortisol, but then drop it directly after. Now, this third one is something a lot of people I see are seriously dealing with. High protein and protein shakes specifically, such as protein powder or something like Fairlife, all of these horrible protein shakes that these gym bros actually absolutely love. They're obsessed with this protein. And yes, protein is 100% something your body needs, 100% something you should get a lot of. But when you're getting to the point where you're obsessing over this artificial powder just to hit 200, 250 grams of protein a day, you're not actually getting the benefits you think you are. And yes, the logic does make sense on the surface level of it. More protein is going to build more muscle. More muscle means maybe burning more fat. But there's two main problems with this. First of all, the shakes themselves, most protein powders, most protein drinks like Fairlife, are going to be packed with artificial sweeteners, fillers, additives, just things that are going to destroy your gut, drive up gut inflammation, and this gut inflammation is going to drive up your cortisol. And what drives your fat is your cortisol. So at the end of the day, you're actually drinking something. You're actually taking something that is just going to work against the overall goal. And problem number two, protein absorption completely depends on your stomach acid in a healthy gut lining. So when you have chronic stress, you're eating processed food, and you have this low fat diet or this low calorie diet, all of these are going to degrade that process. So in reality, the guys that are eating this 200, 250 grams of protein a day are actually absorbing such a small fraction compared to what they actually think they are, because they just see the number 200, 250, and they just think that means more muscle. And on top of all of that, testosterone is literally the gatekeeper of protein utilization. So without sufficient and high testosterone, your protein that you're eating from these protein shakes, all of this stuff is not actually going to effectively build that muscle, regardless of how much of it you actually eat. So you have to fix the hormonal environment first before even caring about this number that you're eating. And trust me, I have 100% tried all of this. I used to go through like a tub of protein every couple weeks. I was taking like 2 scoops a day. I was trying to hit like 250 grams of protein every single day. But funny enough, while I was doing all of this, cared so much about the numbers and hit these crazy high protein numbers every day, I was not putting on any muscle. I was not getting stronger, and I was just holding on to this excess fat. But once I actually switched, I cut out the artificial proteins, the artificial protein drinks that were destroying my gut. I was actually waking up every single day with stomach problems and all this stuff, and I just thought it was normal, but that is not at all normal to constantly have stomach problems. It was, for me at least, because of all this processed powders, all these processed artificial things that I was putting into my body every single day. So I switched to red meat, I switched to eggs, raw dairy, real quality fats, real quality foods. And I stopped chasing these numbers that didn't actually mean anything at the end of the day. And then my body, my physique completely changed. And it changed so fast once I seriously dialed these things in. So what I'm really trying to get at here is that eating 200 grams of protein every single day in a broken hormonal environment is not going to actually build muscle. It's only going to feed onto inflammation, destroy your gut, and just make the whole fat loss and muscle building journey so much harder than it needs to be. And this diagram really explains it pretty well. So when you're eating that whole animal foods, animal quality fats, quality proteins, all of these optimal foods, and you have a optimal hormonal system, hormones that are actually functioning properly, you're going to absorb that protein that you're eating, and you're not going to be caring about these random numbers that the calorie tracking app says. And then once you're absorbing all of this protein efficiently, you're going to get jacked, you're going to get shredded when all of this comes into play. So you're eating the optimal foods, the optimal animal fats, and a diet that's going to support the function of your hormones. Your hormones are going to operate optimally. The protein you're eating is going to be absorbed efficiently. You're going to get jacked. You're going to get shredded. Now, what actually gets you shredded? And people don't expect this, because all of these three things have the exact same problem. They're trying to force the fat loss through like this restriction and through the stress, and that just doesn't work. That's just not how the human body is meant to function. So the actual answer is the opposite, actually. It's to create a hormonal environment where your body can naturally shred off that fat and pack on that muscle. So when your testosterone is high and when your cortisol is low, the body is going to do what it was designed to do: burn fat, build muscle, all at the exact same time. So eating for hormones and not for some number that your calorie tracking app is telling you, having a high fat animal based diet full of quality foods that are going to give your body what it actually needs to produce testosterone. So like red meat, like eggs, raw dairy, animal fats. Stop counting your calories and start eating for quality real foods. And then of course, ditch the chronic cardio, lifting heavy, walking throughout the day, not living a sedentary lifestyle, and then doing things like compound lifts, things that are going to produce an anabolic hormonal environment. So your body is actively growing while shredding off that fat. Daily walks, things like that, that aren't going to spike your cortisol. And then, of course, fixing the cortisol problem. This is like the main idea out of all of these things. Sleep is where your testosterone is produced. So, 1 week of bad, poor sleep is actually going to drop your testosterone levels significantly. Cortisol is basically the invisible fat storage that no calorie deficit, no amount of cardio can just override, can surpass. Now, summer is 1 month away, so if you aren't implementing these things yet, make sure you start implementing these as soon as possible. Start actually working for your body to work with you instead of working against you, because the guys that are going to be showing up this summer, showing up to the beach, absolutely jacked, absolutely shredded, are the guys that are working with their hormones, are the guys who stop trying to fight against their own biology and worked with it. So stop trying to out discipline or outwork a broken hormonal system. Fix the actual system itself, and the fat loss will happen naturally. The muscle building, all of it will naturally happen when your hormones are operating and functioning the way that they are supposed to. And summer is 1 month away. So if you're actually trying to get jacked, if you're actually trying to get shredded and you want a system that is built tailored to your specific situation, you can book a free call with me that is linked in my bio. We'll see if you're a good fit for my one-to-one program. But that is all that I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching.